Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Unlock Life podcast. I have Jess here, and I have been so excited to get Jess on for weeks. Whenever this idea came to my mind, she was one of the first people that popped in around this idea of who do I know or who do I really look toward that is living an unlocked life. For anybody that's new to this podcast, it's very much like living life on their terms. I talk about this idea of like living out of the system, whatever that system means to you. Everybody has their own idea of the system or the cage or the rules or whatever it might have been growing up. And that will be different in so many different households and countries and cultures. But definitely, Jess, whenever I came across your page, which was through Danny Hamilton, a lovely, lovely woman that I made friends
Mhm.
with at the end of last year, I just saw your content and was like, that is exactly what I would want for myself. And it seems so simple now that I see what you post and lifestyle wise, I'm like, yeah, of course, that's what we should all be doing. And yet, it's at least in my world, it's a rarity. Like, I don't see people posting much about this is how I live my life and this is how I'm choosing to. So, for anybody that has not come across you yet, Jess, give us a flavor of like what is it that you love to share online?
Oh man. First of all, I'm so happy to be here. You inspire me so much. I love your accent, which you probably forget that you have, but here in
I
America, I'm
do.
like, you have the most beautiful voice. It's hard to describe yourself, or at least for me. And I've got all these different, we're all multifaceted. I think if you follow my page, you're going to see a lot of me outside. I love the simplicity of that. I've lived a few lifetimes within the health space. I used to be very supplement protocol stuff, and that's what I really thought was like the secret sauce. Now I see them as supplements. They're not the foundation. Then I shifted into a more nature for healing approach, and then it just changed my life, my physiology, just everything about how I see the world. It just kind of lights you up. Like it just
Hmm.
lights up every part of you, being such like a sunlight seeker. I really try to just share that on my page. I don't have a great elevator pitch because within that, within Jess and nature, I also want to put out the vibe that women can be whatever we want to be. We don't have to pick a lane. We don't have to just be Jess, the nature girl, or like just over identifying with one part. So I like to give women permission, humans really, to just explore their curiosities, and mine keeps taking me back to nature. And so I just try to show that. Lately I've gotten a lot of comments and messages that are like, do you have a life? Do you have a job? And it's like, I guess I do a good job of making it look like I don't have any responsibilities, because I have a ton. When you're clear on what the medicine is and where health comes from, then I prioritize those things. That's what I share on my natural health account. I try to keep it focused on that, but there's always allowance for other parts of life that flow in or inspire me. That's part of the human experience, I think. So
Mm.
hopefully that's a little intro.
Yeah, and yes, there are many out there, but what I got from your information and education is this infusion of nature. But what is nature trying to remind me of? It's like I can always just exist as I am, whatever that mood is, whatever that
Yeah.
version of me that is today. I actually wrote down because I had screenshotted one of your posts and I was like, holy shit, that is so good.
Really?
Lovely
Okay, which
podcast.
one was it?
Quote for anybody listening. My beauty routine, mostly sunlight, river water, radical self-acceptance, Sephora, Mother Nature has got a better loyalty program. It's like, that's awesome.
That's the vibe. That's the thing about social media, is you're trying to put this complex human experience that's very colorful into little bite-sized pieces. At least I am, because I don't want to occupy a ton of people's time. I want to provide value, and I also don't want to spend a bunch of time editing
Mhm.
videos and stuff. So the easiest way I've figured out how to do it is I'm going to record myself doing my thing, and then I'm going to have a giant note on my phone. It's just thousands of words of ideas of things I want to say, or this feels powerful. A lot of it is this helps me. So I don't know if it'll help somebody else, but I hope it can feel like a relief to them to hear that, like, they don't need to go drop thousands of dollars at Sephora or at a supplement company. Health is attainable, and there's not a giant price tag on it like we've been taught. However, you do have to prioritize certain things. At least that's in my experience.
Yeah. And one of the things that really resonated with me was when you said about this idea of like feeling really lit up. Yes, sun is going to light us up, but it's
Yeah, yeah,
so deep. And I
yeah.
remember how I went on to meet Danny, like, the first person that introduces you to sunlight and health based around circadian health and quantum and all of that sort of thing. She was like, yeah, just try it out. Just get up and see what happens. I remember feeling extremely nauseous the first day because my body
Wow.
clock was like, what is this? It's so early. So there's going to be recalibration. But I also remember within the first day or two, Jess, feeling a few things. So the first thing was like, it feels like I have 2 days in one now that I never had. I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
realize how much of my life I was sleeping or just not there, not in the world, not in my world. So it felt
Hmm.
like, oh my God, I have a whole day here. I had more alone time, which always will bring up so much stuff for everybody.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I really noticed was that in terms of consciousness or spirituality, something completely shifted in me whenever I was in sunlight
Yeah.
consistently, especially in the morning when I was alone. It was like I just felt deeply happy, way happier than I had
Yeah.
ever felt. And nothing had really changed in my life on paper. I'd love for you to talk a little bit or a lot, because I love talking about sun and I know it's wildly controversial to talk about sun and happiness and health hilariously. But I
Yeah.
would love to talk a little bit about, yeah, your experience, your journey with the sun.
Oh, I love what you just said about feeling happy. And I think that's a great launching point. So, I previously thought that health was very complicated,
Yeah.
required a lot of elaborate stuff I didn't think I had the money for, and all of that. And so, the relief I felt when I started just feeling the sun medicine, I call it the sunscription, was such a beautiful simplification for me that my mental health needed, that my nervous system needed, that my connection to being alive and being grateful for being alive. I needed it so desperately. And you don't know it until you know it, right? I think about my relationship to the sun quite a bit because I grew up in South Florida here in the United States. It's the southeast corner of the United States, and the UV is much higher. For example, from where I live now in Kansas City. So I grew up and I was a very tan little kid, and my brother was too. And we were outside a lot. My earliest memories were being on a boat in the ocean, on the intracoastal waterways, and just outdoors was how we lived. I look back on pictures of being a kid and I'm like, oh, I was a little tan. I've always been little tan Jess. And I'm just so like, I've always had it in me, but you're not thinking about that when you're a kid. You're just being a kid. Fast forward, I'm in my late 30s now, and I'm like, what it continues to come to me how like all along I could actually get emotional talk all along the sun has been there, right? We're going through life trying to maneuver and strategize all these different parts of our life, and like
Yeah.
the unwaveringness, whatever your belief system is, just the unwaveringness of that thing that keeps coming back every day is like the recalibration for me to have shifted my life in the last 5 years has been my reconnection to really intentional time. I keep looking up at the sun like it's listening to me, but and there's been many little tributaries and side things off of this main river of sun stoke. I do want to understand the science, and I went through a couple years of that, of learning from every little subtopic, from why
Mhm.
chemical sunscreen is not ideal, why we need melanin, the POMC pathway, how morning sunlight kicks off our, top down hormonal cascade, like all these different things. I feel like been there, done that. Beautiful to to understand it through that lens, especially when you're talking to people that are largely in that world. That
Yeah.
way I could have the vocabulary to explain it in a way that would get through to them, because sun seeking behavior is commonly just written off as hippie, you don't have a job, you're homeless, which is hilarious because it's like, you're not giving me enough credit. I've put the time in. I'm not trying to hurt myself. I'm not trying to give bad advice. I feel like there's so much science that's just not in plain sight that backs it up. What's even more important to me, at least, is your experience with it. My experience has been that it has changed my life. Every day I'm like, free medicine. I just want more people to know about it. When you feel good, you want more people to feel good, and you want to keep the message going with an asterisk of like, I don't want to tell people what to do. And I know people have their preconceived notions and baggage with sunlight. I've heard it all. I understand that. The reason my account is just very simple, a word vibe, and then me doing something is because leading by example feels like the most powerful,
Yeah.
simple thing I know how to do. I don't want to lecture people. I just don't want to spend my time that way. It doesn't even feel like me to do that. I'll take the time to be helpful, but as far as broadcasting, if my account is like a radio station, that's what I want to broadcast. I'm doing what I'm saying I'm doing. There's some integrity there. I genuinely love it. And yeah, and I hope when people say they get something positive from it, that's the coolest thing because I also get something positive from doing it. It feels like altruistic, I guess, in a way. It feels like it's helping people, it's helping me. I go to sleep at night and I feel like pretty good about it, even though just like anybody else, there's some days where I'm like, what am I even doing? Or like, should I be sharing more science and stuff? I have resources and stuff, but I don't know. That's probably, I don't know if you relate to that.
Yeah.
Just an athletic upbringing. I'm constantly like, where's my weak spot? What could I be doing more of? I could have worked the whole day. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I meant to say this about this to make sure it makes sense to people. Like it's endless. So that's work I have to do to just give myself a little bit of a break there.
Yeah, I think 100%, Jess. At least for me, as the viewer of your content, I know not everybody has dove into the quantum health or the science and all of that. That is natural because it's not mainstream. Well, it's getting there, but
Yeah.
it's not readily available. But being able to live vicariously through someone's account is the most inspirational part. Hearing you say that is a nice reminder for me. Sometimes I haven't posted in how long because there's this block of how can I provide the value, but also make sure I explain this and tell them about this, but also it needs to be this. And it's exhausting sometimes when you get down to the essence of it. Can I just show people what I actually do, how I live my life, and just be the example? So thank you,
Yes.
because that's just locked in for me. I think
I've
that's what I'm
gotten a
gonna do.
lot. Don't give me all the credit. There's been years of me trying to, I host a networking event in Kansas City and we yap about our businesses. I'm the only vlogger kind of
Yeah.
person that's there. We all follow each other on social media. One of the gals said exactly what you just said. I was like, do I talk about melanin, harmonious sun time? What's the ideal? You can overthink it. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
Jess, just go do it and share doing it. And I was like,
Yeah.
why do we complicate? And
Yeah.
you're right. It's funny because I have done months of content where I spent so much time making sure every reference on every statement I was making was listed and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. I did that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that work. I always will be, but at the same time, it wasn't a whole body yes. It was just
Yeah.
I want this resource to exist, but I wasn't truly lit up. I was kind of exhausted in a way because you feel like you're proving yourself. And now when you're in this space and energy of like, I'm just going to be who I am and I'm going to show
Yeah.
what I'm doing. And if anybody's interested, oh, by the way, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm without flaws. I might make mistakes. I might leave out a detail. And people that follow me, I think at this point can afford me that. They're not expecting me to be like anything besides what I am. And so thank you for saying that too, because it's like it's just so easy to get caught up in something else that's helped me too is listening to you say, I've had all this stuff I want to say and I just backspace it or I don't post it or I put it off. As a friend or somebody that loves your work, I'm like, dude, just post it. I don't care at all about any of that. And so I know people look at me that way too because they've told me that and it's easy to not believe it. But I'm like, no, it's definitely true that we are just so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
I heard one time that perfectionism is really just insecurity about
Yeah.
whatever you're sharing. And I remember when
Yeah.
I heard that, I was like, no, it's not. It is. You think it's going to get critiqued or whatever.
Mm.
And to me, I'm just like, well, it's okay if I'm seen imperfectly. The people that are looking for my faults are not the people that are going to be helping me build this momentum for more good vibes. They're just going to be a drain. The thing of perfection and even curating too much stuff online is just not the way. You do a
Yeah.
great job of not doing that. I feel like you're super authentic and organic. It's funny how we need the reminders that that's enough. That's the secret sauce. That's the strategy. Just
It's
you-ness.
like no strategy.
Yeah, exactly. This is
Yeah.
just my opinion, but I've met enough people that start their own business, but then hate it 5 years
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And it's because you can corporatize what you're doing to the extent where you're so far away from the point of even working for myself.
Yeah.
So just making your own rules is absolutely, I think, vital for longevity in
Yeah.
entrepreneurship and being your own health advocate, just like across the board.
Yeah.
That's my vibe
Yeah.
with it.
I think 100% with the perfectionism, like I, my family, I have two brothers. Our house has always been sports focused. I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. And it also really brings you up in this mentality of like, it has to be the best or else it's not getting done.
Or you're not playing. Yeah.
So you know
So
what that
it's so
means about
real.
your soul? Like,
By the way, you have no value if you're not on the court to add to it.
I,
I think it's woven into us. A process I've gone through. I'd be interested if this resonates with you. Is like I went through a phase of like, forget athlete Jess. It's all bad. It's all
yeah,
masculine. And then now I'm just like, no, those are some epic qualities that I have from them. Keep those. And then which ones are not serving me anymore?
yeah,
How can I edit that or let them go?
yeah,
Do you
yeah,
feel like there's been a reconciliation for you with that? Okay.
100%. It's a weird coming together of two sides of my personality. The masculine yang that's like, I'm good at this and I love pushing and I have a lot of energy for that.
Yep.
I love speed and fast and da da da. And there's also that real worrier part of me that grew up worried about things. And I think the coming of those together in a way has been cool. But before my 30s, I'm only in the last 2 years have I been able to separate performance in my team sport. I play team sport and like individual performance. Was I doing enough for the team from a deep sense of who I am and my self-worth? I used to come home in bits because it wasn't about sport. I was probably from a young age, and potentially you're the same. Like your younger self does not know how to separate praise for playing well, praise for being such a good leader, like just praise for being good enough as Maria, as Jess, as that little soul, that little individual. I honestly only feel like whenever I turned 30, I was like, I'm kind of done with these two being knitted together
Yeah.
because hilariously, I found sunlight and I like got way into this. And then I was like, oh, there is so much more to my life and my value than performance. And now it occupies like a fraction of my life and my brain, and I still love it, but I just feel like my relationship's way healthier now with sport. So yeah, I'd love to hear your take on that as well.
I think you shared something recently about, I don't know exactly, it's a very abstract thought in my brain remembering what you said, but I think it was something about you being in your yang energy, your masculine, the go, go, go. And I was like, me too. Because I feel like in this world, not many women are talking about how fun that is, right? I mean, I would say that it has been deemed pathological to be an assertive woman, depending on who you're around. In wellness space, there's definitely honor your feminine. For me, on the back of my phone, I literally have a pop socket that has the yin and the yang on it because I need the reminder all the time.
Mhm.
Neither
Yeah,
are bad. It's never going to be perfectly balanced, but seeking the balance is typically the right direction. And
yeah,
like being honest with yourself, yeah, that, gosh, I don't know, that's a whole nother like 5 hour conversation. But absolutely, like I just the allowance of letting yourself emerge and express and letting that be like the compass for how you are, instead of, for a while, if I'm honest, I was trying to be what people were telling me I was supposed to be.
mm,
Don't be so in your masculine, you need to slow down, you need to do less weightlifting, all these things. And it's like all of those things were true in a moment, that I did need the rest and I did need to change how I was fueling. I did need to sleep more. But at the same time, the problem was that I wasn't listening to myself at all. I was
yeah,
listening to them for what was right for me, which, to
yeah.
your point about sports and teachers in public school, I was a public school kid, so there's no judgment. It's interesting to reflect. The reason I think it's hard for us to separate our worth from performance in academics and sports is because how many teachers and coaches do we have out there that are teaching that? We're told,
Mm,
listen to the teacher, listen to the coach. We're like, oh, they're like all knowing being, they're perfect and they know all the answers. And then that's not the message, though. Largely, at least for me, it was just well intended, but all performance hitting marks. There was no allowance for having an off day. What do we learn from that? Like, there was none of that for me. So then that's just what we're taught. And so for me, I have a lot of grace for myself for being like, dude, that's what, that's literally, you were taught to respect those people. So of
yeah,
course it's going to take you years to relearn what being a human even is. The sun's been a beautiful part of that, of just kind of being like, what is this even about? Like, just you're a lot of unlearning, a lot of, hey, like kind of taking your life back in a way of like, what do you want your life to be like? You want to feel good? You want to be healthy? All right, cool. This is what your day is probably going to look like. And that's
Yeah.
been a beautiful practice of, I guess, like health sovereignty or whatever, words you want to attribute to that. And it feels like good. And if it looks like I'm empowered and confident in it, it's just because I've been putting the reps in, choosing yourself, what you're thinking. And oh, by the way, being ready for the pushback, it's going to happen. Like, I think when we're like Maria being her peak self, you would think people are like, yeah, girl, get it. You're amazing. But what really happens is people are like, who do you think you are? They
Yeah.
project all of their stuff because they can't do what you're doing, be who you are, have the integrity and natural human radiance that you do. It's been kind of like my whole life. Anytime I'm trying to excel, I'm like, all right, guys, woo, like looking for high fives. And then I'm just getting criticism and questioning. And it's always been so confusing to me. And
Yeah.
thankfully, as I've gotten a little bit older, I've found people who get it. People that are struggling are not going to look at me or you or any human that's stoked about something and have the ability to be supportive and encouraging. So just kind of knowing that ahead of time, because I think that can slow you down if you are looking for support and you don't have it, or you're not getting it from the people you're looking at for it. Just forgive them ahead of time. They don't have
Yeah.
the tools. So
Yeah.
just be open to the random person on the trail when you're hiking that gives you some dose of like, you're like, man, you know what I mean? Like it's unexpected, allowing the unexpected little bits of support to flow in, like meeting you, like meeting Danny. I never would have thought there's other women out there that were like-minded at all. I felt like I was on an island by myself, and I
Yeah.
was comfortable on that island, but it's just nice to have, even if it's small, a little community. No matter what your interests are, you can find your people. It just might
Yeah.
take you a
Yeah.
while, and it might not be 100 people. It might be like two, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything has changed toward this concept for me in work. So in practice, I'm a kinesiologist and I worked with people, 1 hour sessions, the next person, the next person, the next person. And it was all individual work. And while I loved that, it really got to a point where it was like, I'm asking these people to really stretch into living more unlocked, living in the way that they realize, oh, this is actually how I want to experience life. I want to do more of this. And like, while the clarity is huge piece, it's then like, okay, well, how can we actually move toward that? And I think as you'll probably, as you felt, Jess, like the biggest barrier to that is what are people going to think about me when I actually do
Yeah.
this? It's ourselves. Like we're always the one that are blocking it. So yeah, for me then, yes, I still take one-to-one clients, but the main thing now is the women's group space, that mastermind. And the way I pitch it is like, most people do not get this. If you are interested in this, that's because most people in your life have not understood or you felt like you haven't been able to get there already on your own. So yeah, I love that. And I think 100%, like I sometimes think like, I love that term, like peak Maria. What would I be? What would I be doing? And what starts to like instantly show up for me and look toward that and see, is that actually fact or is this,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was
There was
smiling because I was a
Sorry.
kinesiology major in college. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. So I
Really?
didn't pursue it, but isn't that so funny?
That
That's
is
so funny.
so funny.
That's
I
why
feel
there's
like
just
there's a
immediate
lot of
resonance.
overlaps with
I
that.
know, yeah. So I guess, yeah, something that is, I mean, I'm kind of echoing exactly what we're saying, but this is advice that I needed when I was younger. And if I'm looking at this through the lens of this conversation being helpful to somebody else,
Yeah.
I just use this as an example. Like, and again, I'm kind of reiterating what I just said, but I feel like the last couple of years of my life, I've just been like on this upward ascension in every single way,
Mm,
owning my own stuff, personally growing, my health has been growing, my physical strength has been growing, the community around me has been growing both online and in person. I'll share stuff either on social media or I'll just be having this experience, and then there'll be like the most critical or hateful things that are not often, right, but like maybe a DM or a comment or just somebody not having, I'm like, this is so exciting. I'm doing this. Isn't this amazing? I feel like I'm finally living my best life, and people,
mhm.
I just want to, that's the message is, don't like, be prepared to forgive people ahead of time, because
Yeah.
I carried so much wounding for a while and honestly resentment that people were not celebrating what I was doing and instead they were criticizing it or finding something wrong with me or how I shared.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you shouldn't stay on that path. In fact, throttle up a little bit more or,
Yeah.
whatever. Just don't let it detract you or have you thinking that you're on the wrong path or you should doubt yourself. Sometimes people have a hard time celebrating other people, even though they would be helpful for you and I to, and we both, I'm sure, have support. But like, I don't know, for whatever reason, that's been a huge thing for me to be like,
Mm,
just people aren't going to be as supportive as you think sometimes. And then you're going to have insane support from unexpected places. And it will remind you that I guess that's life. You can't
yeah.
expect people to have a reaction. And then you'll get all these little gifts, all these people that are like you've met for 5 seconds. This happens to me frequently when I'm traveling, like a barista or somebody at a gas station. They'll just say something so positive, just like, you're an incredible light, this like lady at a gas station said. And I was like, you don't know me at all, but you just said it wasn't
Hmm.
based on what I looked like. I
Hmm.
literally had wet hair coming out of a river, like I wasn't impressing anybody, kind of thing. Just be open to those random gifts and don't be
Yeah.
so attached to looking for the support. I guess that, I don't know if that's going to resonate with anybody, but you're right,
Yeah.
like being worried what people will think stops so many people. Like I've had so many people be like, I would love to share openly, but it's cringe.
Yeah.
People, my friends would think I'm stupid or whatever. I'm like, dude, get new friends and be
Hmm.
yourself. If they're gonna judge you for being yourself and being brave enough to have an audience just looking at you, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I want friends like that. If you
Mm,
have friends that don't want you to do that, then I don't know. Maybe think about
yeah.
your, and maybe you'll inspire them to be a little more open. We all have baggage of things we judge or like things that we deem okay or not okay. It's all about being a kind of a free, expressed person that's doing good. That's what I aspire to. I know that you do that. That message of don't try to please everybody.
I remember it's not a new thing, but
Yep.
this idea of what if we are the only one in the way? Like at the end of the day, we are the only one stopping us. I've heard that before, but it really landed for me last year. And I was like, holy shit. Well, I am my only problem here. Yes, I'm going to trigger people, probably people that I expect to support me, maybe aren't going to be able to be there for me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, the only thing in this way is me. So if I have that awareness, like, what do I actually want to do with this? And that again is where the unlocked life kind of came from. Once we have that idea of freedom to create, to design, like what do we want it to look like? And so I would love to ask you, Jess, in relation to that idea of like your unlocked life, is there, and I'm talking like practically day to day, or if you prefer to go like general themes, like what does your unlocked life look like? Like, where are you headed, or what are you enjoying right now? To inspire people who are maybe locked up currently, being
Oh
like,
yeah.
I love her, but I could never do that. What does that even?
I do hear that a lot. It's very interesting. Well, first of all,
Mm,
I am a human being with fears and doubts and flaws and all of that. So I don't need anybody thinking I necessarily have things figured out. There are some things where I do feel like I'm in my flow state. I feel like I tap into my flow state often.
Tell me about your flow state, please. Feels
Yeah,
like easy and energized to you.
there's always a nature component. And if there's not, I'm moving. It's some kind of exercise. People have good and bad connotations with the word exercise. It can be whatever feels good to you. For me, being a lifelong athlete, I played soccer growing up and then volleyball later on. I have a very strong connection to movement and the before and after movement Jess. So, like, Jess before movement and even sunlight and all these foundational human needs. And I know this is not just me because we all have similar biology as humans, but before all of that, I'm moody. I'm doubting myself. I don't have any ideas. I'm just stuck. I'm locked. I'm definitely the opposite of unlocked. I'm feeling sorry for myself. I'm blaming people for stuff. Physical practices are also, they're not just physical, they're mental. Exercise helps me mentally unlock 100%. It's funny that you're asking me this question because recently I was thinking about doing a video where I talk to the camera about something before and after
Mm,
doing exercise. And I'm like, you don't want to hang out with the Jess before. And I don't either. There's just stuff in the way. I always think of it as like there's an exhaust that builds and we just start, we're suffocated by our own BS, And
yeah.
so That's like, I know that about myself. I tend towards moody and can isolate. So non-negotiable about these things. It's not because they're just my hobbies or that I'm trying to get out of work. Yes, I love just being a recreational human, but I also love being a great employee for the part-time jobs that I have. I love working too. I'm not trying to escape that. Ultimately, if you're going to feel free and unlocked, you have to be brave. I think
Yeah.
that is kind of overlooked. I think that people, like, you just have to have motivation. The motivation is wane, and it's going to, throughout a day, throughout a week, throughout a year, you're going to have seasons that are full of rest or ideas and creation. And like, I just think that you have to stay steadfast in whatever, you're focused, like a dog with a bone. For me, I want
Mm,
to feel good, so I try to stay focused on that. The bravery comes in, especially for those that share what they're doing on social media. I think if your work is you show up and you have 5 people around you every day and it's the same 5 for 20 years,
yeah.
bravery will look a little bit different. There's definitely going to be hard conversations and things in a work dynamic, but I think specifically when you share online, you have people that don't know you at all and are going to see
Mm,
one thing from you and draw conclusions or say this person is into this or this. If you let it, your body and your nervous system is going to want to shield up. You're
mm,
like, I'm not built for reading negative things about myself every morning. I think that's why I've learned all these lessons. You're not going to get support from your closest friends sometimes on social media. Some of them are great, some of them are going to miss the mark. Same for me. I might not be giving them what they need to be free and unlocked. I think bravery, you got to show up for yourself. You have to truly, and this is a source of pushback a lot, is when you prioritize your health, your mental health, your physical health, grocery shopping to get good nutrients in your body, when that's your priority, meaning it's one, it's not five. Even if you're a parent, if you're a CEO, whatever, you can't, if you're not good, you can't do any of this. People like to make excuses. If you're being honest with yourself, you need to optimize you so that you can be there for all these dependents in your life.
yeah.
I think that is like the key to unlock things, pouring into yourself and making yourself so robust that, like you said earlier, you're going to feel like you have 48 hours and 24 hours. When you really do that, you're like, is everybody else experiencing life? I'm so
Hmm.
energized. I'm so excited. If you can stay on that train, you know what the recipe is for
Yeah.
unlocking it.
Yeah.
The recipe for unlocking your life and feeling free is self-care. Find the phrase that you hear it and you're like, yes, self-maintenance, self-regulation, health, the chance to be
Feeling good.
alive.
I love the just like,
Yeah, feeling good
what
too.
are my
That's like,
rituals to make sure that I feel
yeah.
good every single day?
And then also prioritize feeling good. Whatever your unique flavor is, by the way, it doesn't have to look like me. You don't have to be in a river. Be honest with yourself if it's making you feel truly good or if it's just a quick hit. And then just be brave enough to deal with however other people interpret that. And then also maybe like, it's not your job to manage that. You don't need to defend yourself. That's work I'm still currently doing. It's not, you think this bad thing about me? Okay, that's not my responsibility to manage that,
Oh,
because we want people to know that we're great. Some people just aren't going to see it. I'm not going to spend my time. If you can detach from that, you will feel freer and just unlocked. And like you said, just own it. Know that it's easy to point and be like, this is why I'm not doing this. I think you're right. When you think about that concept of like, I'm in my way, I want
hmm.
to start this company and that's my thing I want to do. And I've been blaming my mom, sibling, and former boss. For me, I think the way we get in our way is that we have like a paranoia, like we preemptively are thinking of the comments that would happen if we did it, and that stops us. But the funny
Yeah.
thing is, that's still all us, right? That's what I was thinking when
Exactly.
you're, I was like, is that how you think of it? Because like,
Yeah,
you're right,
that's what I mean.
it's all up here, even though we
Yeah,
like to think it's out there. Nope, it's right here.
exactly. Yeah,
it's
that's exactly
it's
what I
that's
mean.
that radical
We are the,
acceptance is a lot.
if people go on to decide to change this about their lives, whether it's career, relationship, lifestyle, or how
Mhm.
they raise their kids, there are going to be people in your life that kick back and are concerned for you.
Yeah.
But what I mean by ultimately at the end of the day, it is just us because we are the one absorbing and making sense of that interaction. It's up to us to decide what to do with the information. Those opinions physically will not stop us from doing anything we want. they are there and they are hard to manage. But yeah, we are the one that is taking all that in, and then we get to decide what we want to do with that. Before I ask you a few little mini questions just to finish up, I
Love it.
really want you to speak on this idea. Like for me, whenever I see your content, it makes me want to show up not concerned with how I am perceived and how I look to other people. And I think definitely for women,
Yeah.
if you are going to be somebody that shares on social media, whether it's professionally or just because it's your own personal Instagram, what does this make about me? Am I valuable the way I'm showing up? Am I attractive? Am I this? Am I that? Even though my business has nothing to do with how I look, it's all health and beliefs and it's the internal world. I think following people like you has really helped me be like, I actually really like myself so much more once I let that go. Because there's a deeper, to me, it's like I find myself more attractive. I am more attracted to myself when I
Mhm.
let go of that superficial, how am I being perceived? What do I look like? Now that I allow myself to be vulnerable and witnessed just as me, this is how I speak, this is how I move, this is mistakes I make, this is as good as it gets with this and that. Like once I was able to accept that, I felt like I find myself more attractive. And that's all that matters. So yeah, I'd love for you to talk on that. I get the same thing from you. I'm like, this is how I want to be perceived because this is so cool.
Oh man, I want to like clip the audio of you just talking just now. That's so good because this is, yeah, I don't even know where to start actually. I'm just going to speak very plainly. Something that I think of is the people in your life that you've met. Maybe you've known them forever, maybe you just met them one time. We all have these people in our life that you meet them and you're like, I want whatever you're doing, or like I like you, or you like will just never forget them because you're like,
Yeah.
the way that I felt in their presence was so electric that I just, what is that? So there's that thought, right? And then my next thought is, what kind of person do you want to be? And you get to choose that. Back to radical responsibility for standing in your own way. For me, I don't want to be the kind of person that allows other people's perceptions of how I'm showing up change how I'm showing up. And here's why. That might sound like a cute little thing to say. I don't want
Mhm.
people's opinions to change me because if they did, I now have an agenda. I'm now trying to manipulate how people are going to like, I'm going to post this because then they won't say that mean thing. I was wearing a swimsuit in the river, but if I share that, people are going to be like, it's a thirst trap or she just wants attention. And I'm like, no, that's actually just what I look like. And I'm in a river and I'm in the water. And so I don't know, I've done that thing where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, button up, look professional and all of that. And then that felt terrible for me. That was a bad experience for me because I was witnessing myself change to please people, which I don't think people look at it through that sequence of things. They just go, this is appropriate and this is not. Let's define what appropriate is. If being yourself is inappropriate, you need a new circle, at least in my existence. If me being who I am and oh, I'm not subscribing to the idea that there's going to be things I get wrong, or maybe I'll look back and like, oh, I would have done that differently. But I think if your compass is always like, I'm going to be myself in the moment as good as I know how to be in that moment. And any criticism, you're like, literally doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I'm being myself. When you have that full body relationship to yourself and how you show up, and you've put a lot of thought and reps into it, it gets a little bit easier over time to look at the comments coming in and go, oh, I know the person that would make that comment. And it's the person that probably doesn't have any relationship to movement, probably doesn't have good nutrition, which there's just all the foundation for like how your brain works, how your mood is. They're probably not doing brave things in their life. So I to them represent
Yeah.
somebody that's doing something that they don't have the tools to do.
Yeah.
It's funny how such a superficial conversation about me being online in a swim. By the way, I'm not saying you're saying this. I'm saying some of the comments, always from men are very complimentary and positive, but they just go right over my head because I'm like, thank you, but you're missing the point. Thank you, but you're
Yeah.
missing the point. I saw something recently, the rugby player, Alana Mayer, I think is her name. She's cool. She was in an interview recently and she was saying how She was just in Sports Illustrated. A lot of her stuff is runway, bikini stuff. And she's like, I like men, but I'm sharing this for the women because do you see how women cheer for each other when we just show up and we're brave enough to do that? And I was like, that's exactly what it is. People, they don't really think about it. They're just like, oh, a girl in a bikini or a girl sunbathing. And it's like, you're telling me where you're at in your own ability to look at life. Yeah, when it comes back to me doing it, I still will hit publish on stuff and I'm like, all right, that's going to piss somebody off, or that's going to, even me aside, the words I'm saying all the time, I'm like, there's always a small percentage of, oh yeah, my friend that's a hairdresser that I love, that is amazing, is going to hate that one because I'm talking about river water as hair. And she's going to be like, Jess, you're terrible, like, but
Yeah.
so I think the assumption that I don't experience that is definitely not true at all, even though I think I come off as sure of myself or whatever, but there's definitely a path to get there. I have to feel good about the vibe I'm putting out. Sometimes I can be sassy or I can be a little bit, I don't want to say argument. I try to never be argumentative, but I can be like to the point. But part of it is because I want people to wake up. There's a
Yeah.
little sprinkling of please wake up. The beauty industry benefits if you keep thinking that you're aging too fast. So I try to give real messages that I'm passionate about in a little 2 sentence thing or a run on sentence where I'm just like, here's this vibe, pick it up if you want. It's all just kind of an offering for a different way to experience life. Because I know myself and what I'm trying to do, I come back to that. Any comments I get or anybody trying to detract me, I'm like, I know what I'm here to do. I know what my work is. And it doesn't really matter what I share online. The number one, if you look at percentages of the messages I've gotten over 13 years, by far and away, it's women that are like, I just could never, ever show up. Like, I don't even
Wow.
understand how you do that. And I'm just like, nobody knows that I get those messages, or families that have daughters. I get messages like that all the time. I'm trying to think of a different way to help reframe bodies because moms in dance class are talking about they ate too many calories yet. I'm just like, there's definitely a difference. So, like, really just remembering that's the impact. And I'm very proud of that. I try
Yeah.
to, I can get distracted, but I just try to focus. There's always going to be men that want to make comments. I'm not trying to manage, push, or manipulate people. If that's true, that means I'm going to just be who I am continuously. I'm not going to change because somebody thinks I have too much content in a swimsuit. That's most of my life. So I don't really know what to tell you. I'm not going to change what I'm doing to please you. I don't know if that
Yeah.
answered that at all.
No, it 100% does. And
Okay.
I think one of the things that really stuck out to me where I was like, oh my God, that is so powerful. I want to remember that every single day and even use it with clients too. This idea of like, we also have to put in the reps of showing up that way. Because I think like a lot of the work that I do with people is inner child reprogramming. We'll go into the subconscious and we'll look at old wounds and we'll see why do we feel so shitty about this part or so triggered about that. Awareness and clarity is so helpful. But again, it's coming back to, and then we have to use it. Like we have to see what the block was and then decide what is my unlocked life? How would I show up every single day? And it's not like once we know what the path is,
No,
life just gets so easy. It's so
I
uncomfortable
wish.
because we have to put in the rep every single day
Yes.
of, is it enough? Can I show myself that it's enough just to be me? Can I just be enough as I am? Feeling all of the awkwardness, frustration, or fears from other people. It's such a comfort to know it's a muscle and we need to put in reps to show up as us, knowing that's enough. So I love that line. I think that's cool.
Oh, I'm glad that was helpful. I can give you two examples. One's recent and one's probably like 2 years ago. You acknowledge what your ghosts are, what your
Mhm.
child work that's ahead of you, all these things are the work you need to do to maybe feel relief or feel more confident in showing up as who you are. It doesn't mean you're not going to fall into a pit in the
Yeah.
middle of you thinking that you're. So I had one recently. I was with my family on this trip, this over 2,500-mile road trip I just went on. I was talking to my mom about every room that I walk into, any posts I do, there's always a comment about my skin. I never comment about skin. I would never dream of walking up to somebody and even commenting in any way on their skin. They could be super pale. They could be, you know what I mean? I just don't. that's not something that I understand the thought of. And so I got really, my mom and I talked for a long time about it. My mom has had super tan skin for most of her life too, and she offered a lot of good wisdom. So I'm just saying that because even though you can have an understanding of people and be working towards showing up, there's still moments where I feel like I've had enough. I'm like, hey, I heard you guys, can you stop? I still have those moments where I feel like I sound like I'm 12 years old and I can't handle criticism. 2 years ago, I shared a video on TikTok that was just about sunscreen. Actually, the audio is Nadine Artemis, who's the founder of a skincare company that I love, talking about how chemical sunscreen is linked to skin ailments. Using that increases your risk, and people lost their mind. That video has like 3 million views, I think. The comments were just the worst things you could say to it. It was literally me on a paddleboard, and it was her audio. And the comments were everything you can possibly imagine, to like, I don't deserve to live anymore because I'm giving this advice. It literally was like, I remember the couple days where that post popped off. I remember every time I got on my phone, at one point my hand was shaking. I don't consider myself a nervous person, or I don't really thankfully experience a lot of anxiety, but I was like, this is affecting me deeply. I still don't believe we're meant to have that much feedback at once.
Yeah.
It's part of technology. If your nervous system is going to be regulated, you don't wake up and read 20,000 comments about yourself. That's not how you do it. That happened, and it took me weeks to recover from that. When am I going to share something again? Because the last time I shared something, I was really proud of it. It touches on something that as summer comes up, especially in the US, like people are asking me questions about. Thought it was like articulate all these things. And then it blew up in my face, and I was dealing with the fallout. And then I got a lot of good advice, right? About no press is bad press and your account is benefiting and all that. I'm like, I ended up getting out of it somehow. I probably experienced the biggest amount of just comments about, again, the post was not about, just kind of like what you were saying earlier, your work is not about your appearance. I mean, really, mine largely isn't either. It's a part of health. The post was not about me. It was about the sunscreen, right? And people would just pick apart my appearance. And so
Wow.
just brace yourself, keep participating in the work. You want it to be all solved overnight, but you'll still encounter roadblocks. You will come out better and stronger. You just have to be willing to go through it and know that, like a storm, it'll be wicked and then it will be gone. The next day the sun will be out and you'll be like, that was crazy. And then you'll learn stuff from it, whether you want to spend less time on social media or you want to. My mom gave good advice at one time. She's like, just turn off comments. I was like, well, I don't want to turn off all comments because I don't know if that's great for, whatever. And then I saw there's an option to turn off comments for people that don't follow me. I'm like, yeah, actually, I am interested in doing that. I did that because I was like, if you don't know me at all and you haven't seen anything else I've shared, which has taken so much time of research and stuff, then I honestly don't want your feedback. So making your own boundaries with it, right, is important. Whatever you need to manage your own mental, nothing on social media is worth your own sacrificial mental health state.
Back to what you were saying, it's like those moments are 100% going to come up if it's not social media related, if it's work related, if it's life related, whatever big changes and brave changes you're going to make, it's getting in the reps so that when that does inevitably come, that it's like feel it and pass, let the storm pass and keep moving, keep going.
I do think you'll also get more tools along the way, right? Maybe the next time something comes up, you'll have something that Maria has taught you or that you've experienced. You're like, oh, this helped last time. That's all we can do, I think, as humans, is just keep looking right in front of us and taking the next step. And then we're hopefully gathering new experiences that help the rest of our life continue to unfold and be beautiful. And we'll have lessons still, but so.
I'm going to ask you a few quick fire questions to finish up, Jess.
Sweet, I'll try to be brief.
What is one thing that you are no longer available for in life? What's one thing that you're just like, nah, I don't do that anymore?
You know who Brene Brown is?
Yes.
I'm no longer available for comments from people that are not in the arena. If you're not also in the arena doing the work, your feedback is not even like, I feel that way. I'm not open. If you're not also doing the work of progressing as a human, and obviously that's a work in progress, but I feel that comment, unsolicited advice would probably fall into that category too.
On your progress as a human or on you as a person or as a being. Yeah. The second one is, what is one belief that has changed your life?
That I require the sun. Yep.
Okay, love it.
Require is the key word there.
Oh, and I've talked to you, Jess, before on like that's one thing I really struggle with is the lack of here. I think
Yeah.
whenever you get a taste of it and you feel like a different person, and then it's hard. I also know that you've posted on this idea of living life with suboptimal conditions. We can still be outside, we can still be in nature, we can still do whatever. The last question is, what is one area of your life that you're still expanding into? What do you feel like you're moving inward to currently?
I think I'm reconnecting with athlete Jess again, and I really like her. She's cool. She has a great time. She feels the most lit up, and it feels like the only thing I want to be doing with my life is being how I feel when I am deeply connected to movement and sweating. If I've learned one thing in my life, it's I feel the happiest, I feel the most in flow state. I feel like I'm a better person after it so that I can be better and do better. And just allowing myself to subtract all the noise on social media that's connected to exercise and movement and all of it. And just again, come back to what feels good for me.
Yeah.
And then doing that is like you've wisely said many times, like we're in our own way. We have stories about why we're doing stuff. It's like all that matters is that through the health lens, I feel good and I'm doing what it takes to feel good. And I can keep repeating that. It's kind of embarrassing to admit that I let other people's thoughts on how exercise, it just feels weird to admit that, but it's true. I just thought they were smarter than me and knew better for me than I did. But that left me feeling kind of a self abandonment and unhappy. So now I just am really enjoying working on all three energy systems. So the glycolytic,
Mm.
the phosphagen, the aerobic. So that means, right, the endurance, that means somewhere in the middle, the mid range, and then like heavier, like weightlifting and doing all of it. It's so fun to me. And I am reestablishing my connection to that. I think my account might in the future have more of that because I think exercise needs a rebrand. I just think
Yeah.
it needs more. It's so much deeper than body composition and muscles, which I love muscles, but it just like sunlight, there's so much more to it than what people just associate with it. It's just life giving on every level. And people are so sedentary. I've seen it with my own family sometimes like, hey, we need to get moving. What are we doing here? We're not meant to sit all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Great answer. Jess, thank you so much. That was so fun. I
Oh, yeah.
really, really enjoyed that. I feel like we covered about
I
62 topics,
know.
but
I could talk to you for like a couple of years. It would
uh,
be done. It's a
I,
challenge to keep it concise, but you
thank you so
rock. Keep
much.
being you.
I feel really inspired now to just stop
Aw.
overthinking and live and share and live and share and live
And
and
then we'll
share.
see if you see how
Yeah,
it feels and it feels really good. Those reps might just be the impetus for
what's to
more
come.
forward motion. Yep.
Oh, thank you, Jess. Thank you to
Heck
everybody
yeah.
who's listening.
My
And
pleasure.
Jess is on Instagram at Feel More Gooder, which I love that name. I think it's so cool. She is 100% worth a follow, and everything that we've talked about will also make way more sense. So, yeah, have a lovely rest
Totally.
of your day,
100%. Yes.
Jess, and chat to you
You
soon.
too, Maria.
All
Sounds
right.
good. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.